shortly after the Kinect camera here got hacked, people came up with ways to use it in 3D CG. But we wanted to use it in what we do, draw animation, cut out animation. And after a while, we finally got a handle on something, thanks to the open source software community. So we're going to start with a reel of. Are you ready?
Give me 1 second. Okay, I got this. To figure out which direction. That way. It's very weird. I'm looking behind myself. So this is just a bunch of different little experimental things in various stages of doneness. Some of these are finished, some of these are actually from films, and then other ones are just ridiculous little things I did at 3 in the morning, because there was a lot of at 3 in the morning on this project.
But all these are recordings of live actors.
Yeah. Trying to find the full screen button, and it's behind.
Meh. It's on this weird glass screen to begin with. Just got with it.
I'm in favor of the machine. I like the machine.
No! Yay! Rage against the machine! Machine politics are what made a giant chunk of white people in America. You have to be nice to the Irish, you have to be nice to the Italians, because they control the machine politics.
As Jewish people, we're like 85% white because of the machine politics. That's a B+.
This is unfinished. This is actually Casey who's running around the game dancing as a horse.
Oppan Gangnam Style. Gangnam Style. Oppan Gangnam Style.
This is from it's now 2.5D, it's not just 2D forward facing anymore. And so unlike the thing at the beginning where everyone has to face the camera, you can now actually rotate around to the side. And this is from a film where we needed to show a shadowy police lineup, but we couldn't actually show any faces. And then this is made at like 3:30 in the morning, and this is when everything went wrong.
Yeah, so we're going to do a little demo, and then open up for questions. Show of hands, how many of you are animators or interested in? Okay, so the rest of you, no. Hopefully this will be of interest, and just the sort of stuff that these days, a couple of non-programmers can get into. Right? Most of what you're about to see, we didn't write. We just sort of picked it up at the end, tinkered with it, until we got talking to After Effects, which is a really widely used animation program. So we sort of stood on the shoulders of giants, and then made this thing that we've released as open source, putting it back into the community. And so it's really, I think, an amazing example of how you can find tools to get stuff done that was really just flat out not possible just 2 years ago. This specific, the Kinect cameras here, this is a generic brand one, this little one here, and then there's a large one. So what this is going to do is it's going to project an infrared grid over me here, and then it's going to watch how the grid deforms, it's going to find my skeleton in it. And the whole reason we can use this is because it's looking for a silhouette, so any kind of baggy clothing, anything that could change your silhouette, it's kind of confusing. And the whole reason we have this is because Lemore Freed, a New York toy and game entrepreneur, put a bounty when the Kinect came out for the Xbox as a toy, as a game controller. She said $3,000 to whoever develops a driver to use this thing, because they had this USB connector, the same as all the peripherals you plug into your computer. $3,000 to whoever develops a driver to plug this into a computer. Within a week, so goes the story, some guy from Barcelona said, here you go. And now, said before the Kinect, the cheapest motion captures, and does everyone understand motion captures is using a live-action reference motion, you know, computer-animated character. The cheapest system you could buy, my understanding, was a $7,000 system from a company called Vicon, and now it's $80. Is the quality the same? No, it's a toy, but
it's
this
3D.
Yeah.
It tracks a 15-point skeleton, so you can do, and what we're using it for is not full 3D models, but you can actually use Kinect data on a 3D model. It's a little jittery, it's still low resolution, but you can actually animate a character using mocap in your living room, and that's insane.
So we're going to use, this is the program we wrote, this is using processing, which is this wonderful environment, which is a program that makes other programs. An environment that uses the Java programming language, and it was invented at MIT to teach programming. It's really, having tried a lot of these things, aimed at artists a lot, this is really the most, it is sort of educational in itself. And there we go. So, clicking this button. Yeah, we may need to, getting this positioned, we didn't really have time to set it properly. Once it locks on.
Is that long enough on the other table?
Yeah, let's see.
Let's give that a shot.
Once it locks on, it's amazingly good at tracking, once again, for a, well, see, this presents a problem here.
Ooh. That was very impressive tripod.
Yeah, I love this guy.
Secret.
Yeah, Walmart in Los Angeles, 2002. One of the better purchases. Yeah. So can we get, you have to get it to track. You have to assume this. It's called a cactus pose.
Or the.
And here we go.
Hey, how you doing? Wow, it's even tracking you in your half left screen.
Yeah. Normally, this is far from ideal conditions. Normally, you want to be the closest thing to it, and you want to be more than 3 feet back and less than 10. So the quality of what we're about to record here will be quite low. So we have a table here getting in the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
The blue skeleton is logged on. Yeah, this.
I do the legs. It's.
I think the table in the way is not helping.
Right. Let's see.
Can you just go straight sideways?
Yeah. So usually when these
real
fail,
size
because we
right
haven't had time to set up beforehand and test it. So it'll light up blue when it finds me.
But that's actually a depth map, not a video screen. So what you're saying is everything that's black is far away, and everything that's, it gets brighter as it gets closer.
Yeah, you aim it, and then I'll stand here.
Alright, you're totally on screen, and now it's not tracking. I'm
I'll try restarting it, yeah.
Be more cactusy.
Be more cactusy, be spinier.
I will describe it as act like you're getting arrested.
Well, it's tough because you have to learn to hold your elbows have to be sort of parallel, or rather in the same plane as your shoulders. Newer versions of these drivers have removed this requirement here. So we go
Yes.
the camera.
Oh, you put the remote.
I'll get to see if that works. Yeah, there we go. These remotes are wonderful for this kind of work. They're like $8 on Amazon.
There we go.
Okay. So having got on here, I can start a countdown. And you can play
a presentation remote, like a PowerPoint presentation
right.
remote. It's just page up and page down or mapped to the camera and record. So you can do like.
Yeah. Now it can't track what it can't see. So that's one of the benefits of setting up the shot properly. Is that if you get to it's got a poor view of my feet, which is why they're kind of slipping up. Also, you have to face forward.
But part of what we've built, one of the new things that we've added in the After Effects side of things is that you have to record facing forward, but you don't have to keep your data facing forward. You can reposition a virtual camera and get new positions for your characters from any angle.
You want to play back the?
Yeah.
Now, if you're in 3D, are there any, the two of Animators, do you do any 3D CG work at all? Yeah, the pixels are good for visual thinkers. You know, vector animation, which is what 3D animation is, it's abstract, it's math. You know, pixels are just dots, we can make dots. So there are tons of great solutions besides this homebrew monstrosity if you're a 3D animator. Ruckus Kinect is a wonderful piece of open source software like this, but much more polished. It came out pretty soon after the Kinect got hacked 2 years ago. There are now great low-end, a couple $100 professional or prosumer, as you call them, things like IPI Studio, I think. But nothing for 2D animation. So once you've recorded this, you can then get this into After Effects and load it up and create a character. And yeah, all this, Victoria and I basically met over Twitter while I was working on this. And
yeah, I found it because I got a Kinect and was like, there must be an After Effects thing, and it was like 2-3 days after you posted the original version of this. And you were still in Canada then, and then Nick is here now working at IB, so from there we've been able to work on it a little bit more just because he's in town. Oh, I should be doing this on the other screen.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, I need an opinion here. Would you like to see George Washington, a skeleton, a ridiculous horse?
George Washington.
Okay.
A horse?
Horse.
Let me see if I can find George.
Can you mirror?
Oh yeah, I can just mirror now. Mirror. Maybe I can.
Yeah.
Oh wait. No. Maybe I can't mirror. Hang on. Sorry, 1 second. So, the way this works, and the screen is much smaller than mine, is that there in After Effects there's an add-on panel here that builds you a template and lets you import your data, and also allows you to automatically rig your characters, so that all you do is drop pins on them, and you drop, it's called the puppet tool, and if you add a whole bunch of puppet pins to a layer, it looks all squishy and like old-timey cartoony wiggly arms, but if you just use 2 per layer, you get a nice sort of stretch and squash rotation thing going. And so all you do is label your pins and then click rig, and there's a bunch of scripts and expressions in the background that can have everything on.
So this is a plugin, Victoria?
Yeah, it's a UI panel. Kinect's pin is in 2 parts. There's the app that actually captures, and then there's a UI panel inside After Effects. And it runs with both. So I've got, here's the original George Washington, and he's all set up. And then there's a layer that actually contains all of the points as keyframes. And that's what it looks like. It's just, here's his head and neck, and it's just 15 different points. I'm going to turn off the old ones and grab, I'm just going to copy and paste out of you can't see what I'm doing, can you? I'm just copying and pasting tracking data here. And now I've got new points, and so now he should be mirroring. Oh good, that's exactly what I want to see. Thank you, After Effects. Sometimes it does that when 2 points overlap. But now he should be fine.
Take the resolution down.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do a frame skip preview here. This will take a second to load in. But this is actually a 3D character, even though he's also facing forward. So if I need him to face to the side, I just move a camera, and his layers will overlap in such a way.
There's the jump.
There you go. So a lot of what I've been using this for at work is animating archival photos. So taking people out of a picture that's 100 years old, cutting them out, and having them walk around. I think it's also going to be really useful for like super fast turnaround animation. Like maybe something responding to like something political. Like you could do day of stuff if you have your characters built.
I like that one website where you just type in the script and it like gives you a little animation. Of the
Yeah, like the dog and the whatever and the pig talking. Yeah, you could do an equivalent for this and have people upload political, you know, diatribes, connect to someone dancing as whatever.
I think a lot of those prefab ones tend to be owned in our collective consciousness by whoever really discovered and exploited them first, like that Deadpan Incorporated guy. You ever seen any of his stuff? Stand-up comic for a while when Extra Normal came out, with a little talking bear that you could script lines for. He began trying out material, and they're genius. It's like little text-to-speech voices and cartoon bears doing these like doing stand-up material, and really good. But it's, you know, anyone else does it, I just look at him. You know, it's like he got there first.
One thing we've gotten really interested in is just this idea of animating by performing. So we've also got another tool that lets you film your face as you make facial expressions and map them onto a character's face. And you can combine that with the full body motion and do sort of a 2-pass performance thing. And no one let my boss see this, please. You are bug. I'm using Washington for something legit for work, where he will not be doing quite this.
Well, he's mostly straight.
Yeah.
Reasonably straight. Reasonably.
So would anyone else like to try this out?
Yes.
Come on.
Have you tried it on your cat?
I don't think it would track an animal. We've remapped
no cactus
people
pose.
to animals, which is really fun and weird because like if you are acting out a horse, horses like their arms are not shaped like human arms, right. And so we've actually repositioned things so we're inverting the elbows so they're upside down, and like you end up like having to think about how to be a horse upside down, which is really strange. But you can remap everything so it's not just full-on human figures. Like you saw the one that was like the star with little fire pom-poms. Like you can just take geometric shapes. One thing I'm going to be doing at work coming up soon is actually animating a fist fight between New York and New Jersey, the actual states.
New York had better win.
I'm not actually sure who wins. This is a thing for kids about the Constitution. And so a big part of what we're trying to do is make this actually not horrifically boring. Let me get this loaded back up.
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
First time you've ever instantly animated?
I think there's a lot about this that's really good for like rapid prototyping kind of stuff. And for just proof of concept things, trying your characters out, seeing if they work.
Can I spin around? Does that do
Okay, yeah. So with this...
Well, you can, it'll keep tracking you, but your puppet will twist up in a big knot.
Oh.
Well, let's watch that.
It's
Okay.
well, I can actually...
I'll do that at the
hey,
end,
tracking.
That sounds kind of cool.
Ready?
Yeah, let him do it at the end. And we'll see what happens.
Well, I can show you on Washington. I can just move him around in space. But when this stuff breaks, it's really disturbing.
Huh.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, this is a limitation to just, you have one point of view, right? This isn't like the motion capture systems you see in making us with their own mini cameras.
Okay. I think those are all my dance moves.
You got the moonwalk in there.
Show the X and
Good enough.
Yeah. I'll do that.
This is all just spitting out bunches of coordinates.
It's just
that are numbers
coordinates,
0 to
just
1.
numbers. And so inside the folders there's just XML files, and it's just...
That being a text format.
It's just...
Frame after
Okay,
frame.
here, at this frame, the head's here, the neck's here, the torso's here, at this frame, and there's just hundreds of frames, and it's just numbers.
Oh, good.
There is a bizarre thing that happens where you do this enough, you actually get to recognize people from just their motion tracks, but you can't tell from the numbers. But like, I can watch clips now and know like who it is, even though they're just dots.
What are you sensing? Like they're
People have really distinctive ways of moving.
like gravity?
Can I show the dots?
Actually, one of the things I should demo is I will put Steve on George Washington, and then I want a girl to do it next, because you will see that we've really discovered, like, if I put my motion track on a male character, he moves like a lady. He moves with his hips, and I can't help it, and it's really strange. And like you really start to notice like all the distinctive ways people move.
I have a feeling that my masculinity is really going to come through as a
Is this going to be like male superheroes if they were female pictures?
Kind of.
You've seen that?
Yeah, it's very much like that. But we did a demo at work where a bunch of my coworkers tried out George Washington, and everyone could tell immediately who was who.
Wow.
Which was very fascinating.
Good. Do you want to show the dots?
Oh yeah, I can just play it back too.
Or no, like Enactor?
Yeah, 1 sec. I'm gonna actually grabbing the data here. It also spits out, when I click save, it's spitting out After Effects keyframe data, which looks like this. And you can actually just copy and paste it, it's just plain text. It's all human readable, actually. Sorry, working behind myself is not terribly easy.
Nick, you said you released this back, Nick, right? Nick, right?
Yep.
Nick, you released it back into the open source community. What have they sort of done with it? What have they built upon the amazing stuff you guys have built?
I don't really know if anyone's sort of incorporated anything.
Well,
They've added
there's
something else.
the guy who made Warped.
Well, people have used the tool.
People are actually using this for production.
So we've got a bunch of people now who are interested in using the tool for stuff. As far as the code, we really didn't contribute anything novel. We just got this data into a format where it can be used in After Effects. And I think there's someone who really had to contribute. I've heard, actually just a couple days ago, heard this in terms of teaching people software. The phrase was that low floor, high ceiling, wide walls. It's like easy to do simple. It's easy to do simple tasks. For beginners to do simple tasks. It's possible for experts to do complex tasks. And lots of people can find a way to do something that suits their own interests. And that's like processing, like these intro tools that I think I've found it's really interesting. That we can take this and just add a little bit that we as animators need to do what we want to do. Right? We haven't contributed anything novel to the field of computer science. Right? We just took these chunks of code and modified them just a little bit so they would spit out just the right kind of numbers that After Effects could take this in, and now we have this.
A big thing that we're interested in, and that's right now there's this disconnect in animation between open source and commercial software.
Yeah.
And we're trying to sort of find ways to bridge these open standard tools and use them in a production environment, and because there's cool stuff happening in open source, and it's really great to
Twist without the neck. Woo!
This gives you a sense of what happens when. That's great. Alright, I'm going to just render all of these out and send them to my boss. Like, this is what we're doing for the next Constitution.
This is the part where he realizes he's been too uptight and, not a good father. And this was like the classic 80s movie, closing credits dance.
I'm pretty sure kids would find this not boring.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Alright, who's next? To play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, it's tracking me.
Cool. Ready? I noticed that it works in complete darkness. Are you?
Do I still have to
Once
keep
it's
my
tracking you, you don't have to keep your arms up. You can just be. Yeah, it works in complete darkness because it's an infrared camera. It's actually projecting dots all over you and then reading them back to see how you deform in space.
Notice how it jumps when she goes behind the table? It's optical, right? So if you can't see, you can't track what it can't see. But that's not your fault, it's just
Yeah, there's.
I think I'm done.
Can you just stop? There's one of the drawbacks of the open source stuff as opposed to what Microsoft is doing is there's a problem with like what they say, what they call it is occluded joint estimation, where you can't put your hands behind your, if you put your hands behind your back, you can't see them, and so it can't track them. And Microsoft's own drivers, which you can't really use for these kind of purposes right now because they have a lot of weird restrictions on them, have some stuff to help you estimate where things are when they're out of view, and so they're a little better for that. And they also have, they can tell what way your hand is facing and what way your feet are facing, which we don't have yet. Right now the hands are all just automatic rotation, and then you can animate them on top of that rotation.
Yeah, essentially Microsoft first threatened the crew that cracked the Kinect, then realized they were selling tons of them not for Xboxes. I forget the figures, but so many more Kinects have been sold than Xboxes at this point because of
they wanted to take them apart?
Well, people can use use them for these purposes, right? Like, then they decided that, oh, we'll release our own official drivers, which, as Victoria's saying, because they're made by a big company instead of the open source community, so they have some features that we haven't got here. But you must use it on Windows, you must use it on Windows 7, not XP. You must, you can't write in Java, they restrict what languages you can write for. And what's funny is we would have never met, probably, if we hadn't been using processing, because that runs on Mac, PC, and Linux, right? This works on all three. So I was working on a Mac, she's working on PC. So yeah, if we've been using that platform, if we had been restricted to what Microsoft had in mind, we might never have come up with this. Yeah, the whole trend of deciding what languages you can program in, that's been sort of a weird, subtle, because it's really only of interest to programmers, but a subtle weird thing, like I say, that Apple has done with the iPhone. It has some really interesting effects. Oh, here we go.
This has to be the last one then.
Yeah.
At 5 is the next thing.
You can do things other than George Washington.
You may. We give you permission. It's in the license.
I just really like the way he moves, because he's so proper and formal looking, and no one, nobody does subtle motion with this when they first try it out. Like, I started doing the stuff where we're animating the podcast, which is audio only, and so we're adding life to that, and that's just recording like normal sitting motion and gestures. And that's sort of almost not what it's meant for, but it works.
It's really more puppetry than, because it's not going to capture subtlety, you have to keep facing it. You go to the early commercial, like the first ranked commercial solution.
That's great. This is great. You guys are doing amazing things.
I wish I had done that. How do you make the background like not look like a silhouette was just carved out of it?
Oh, I cloned him out with content aware fill.
With what?
Content aware fill. It's a Photoshop feature that estimates what belongs behind him, and then I just painted in the bits that it didn't get right. But this painting is like free in public domain and high res, so.
I want a hornpipe, It's very easy.
I wish I had some of your demos. Like Nick has one that, God, it must have been 3:30 in the morning, where you made a thing of yourself haunting yourself.
Oh, that's not still on the...
I don't have that.
Okay.
He's got one that's like his own floating head haunting him. There's a lot of like working on this in the weird hours of the night because we're both working on other stuff during the day. But I think it's really fun, and I think it has a lot of possibilities. And there's also this interesting thing where, like, somebody was like, oh, I wish I could help you out with that. I'm like, do you have a Kinect? You could just record a text file and send me a text file, and I could just drop it in. Like, I could have a recording from someone anywhere in the world. And it's all just, it's a video game accessory.
So would it be helpful for the animation community to have dancers that are standing by ready to just send you a file of really awesome moves?
Yeah. That would be cool.
Because I know a lot of people with awesome moves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was in Toronto when the Happy first happened, and we got a lot of interest from dancers, from martial artists, all of whom we had to explain to that it can only track what it can see. So if you turn away from it, the camera can't see what's behind your back. So yeah, it ends up much less than true motion capture. It ends up being a lot more like puppetry. Like you have to perform facing forward, and then afterwards we can rotate the action. Like we can, show you. We can put that motion on the character from the side or from. But you have to always face forward. so this is free software, right? There are now, because of all the interest, what's so neat is that this stuff is starting to change. So now, for $200, you can get a capture system, a commercial piece of software, that uses 2 Kinects. That doubles the angle that you can move in. So you still can't turn completely around, but now I think that software has a pro version that's $700, and that allows you to use stereo cameras, actually, not the Kinect, but pairs of cameras, like you use just to film a 3D movie, live action 3D movie. And you get 6 of those in free pairs. And so basically, essentially, this is all becoming possible at a relatively low budget. And yes, it'd be really cool to see what we can do with dancers. They're actually one of the earlier, if anyone is, one of the early choreographers into dance notation, Schillinger, I forget his first name. He's also a mathematician, choreographer and a mathematician, and he came up with a notation system in the 1920s for recording dance, which is the BVH motion capture file format. It was so complex that no one at the time paid any attention to it because no one who wasn't a mathematician could understand it. I don't understand it. He uses something called quaternions, which are like rotations away from the starting position. Can someone tell me what those are after the talk? Cause
the mathematician in the room probably.
Yes, I've asked him before, and that's just. But you know, essentially, we have stuff that can now record this.
Does anyone have any questions? We should wrap up.
Yeah, we need to get the next person in.
Thanks for being George Washington.
All right.